praise and we bless your holy name. We thank you for this opportunity to once again come to our class so that we can listen and learn. We thank you for all that you do for us. We thank you for listening to us. We thank you for answering our prayers. We thank you for blessing us. And Lord God, we're so grateful for all of our sisters and brothers who are here today, the sick people who come back to us, the people who have not been able to come to these classes. We thank you for them. And we praise and we honor you, we adore you, and we lift up your name. Yes. And we pray this prayer to the one who gives us joy, comfort, the one who gives us guidance. And we say, amen, oh God. Amen.
How's everybody doing? Good to see you. How you doing? Good. Pastor is, if you listened last week, I think he said, but he is at the leadership conference. All right? Yes. He's at the leadership conference. So we pray that God leads and guides and protects and does what he needs to do in him as he's experiencing that situation, and then that he will bring him back safely to us. Tonight, we are going to study, and I have learned and I have paid close attention. I probably have said this every time that I've taught. I've learned well from Pastor that it helps to do a little recap before we move forward. And so that's what I want to do. So for those of you who don't take good notes, I do. And so I'm gonna tell you a little bit about what we talked about last Wednesday, and then I'll let you know what the Lord laid on my heart. Is that okay? All right. So we are a word last Wednesday in session 9. And that session is talking about understanding the call of God. Right? So we dealt with that just a little bit. But I want to give you a recap of some of the things. Pastor opened up really talking about what happened at Mother Emanuel in Charleston. And we shared how we felt about that, and a lot of good discussion and dialogue came out of that. But this is some of the other things that we also talked about on Wednesday. It's not in any particular order. But I remember Pastor saying that when we get saved, God calls us to do something. And nobody should be idle. If we don't know what that something is, what should we do? Pray. We should pray and ask God what that something is, rather than just spending time day after day, week after week, year after year, and then you can, somewhere down the line, you can say, I've been a member of this church for 35 years, but then you don't know what you're supposed to be doing, right? So nobody should be idle. Then Pastor shared with us that Greater Bethel needs what God has put in you. And that really struck home with me. I mean, I underlined that, put a circle around it. Nobody's here by accident. You're here because you fit into this picture called Greater Bethel. And so if we are one family, right, what we have in common is our love and our commitment to Christ. And so you have something to do here. God has placed in you what's needed here at Greater Bethel. So if he has done that for all of us, and for example, either I don't feel like it, or somebody's made me mad, or I don't feel like I'm getting the proper attention, then I decide I'm just going to come on Sunday morning, I'm going to listen to the word, and I'm going home. Right? So if I decide to sit on what God has gifted me with, not only am I hurting Greater Bethel as a body, but what do you think God thinks about me? Right? So what you have, what God has gifted you with, fits in here at Greater Bethel, so that you need to be busy about using what God has given me. And I made a note in that asking God what that is. And if you haven't, I mean, it's nothing to be ashamed about, then do so. But if you have not asked God what that is, you don't know what that is. As I was looking over my notes, I jotted down. And if you don't, when you ask God what that is, you don't have to be deep, and you don't have to be long-winded and try to be eloquent. You know how we are sometimes. And I wrote down, Pastor said, what you really just need to do is say, God, what is it that you want me to do? Simple as that. And he made it very clear in our prayer and our talk with God, the most important piece is the what? When we pray, what do we need to do more of? Yeah. If we ask God, what is it that you want me to do? But then you can't sit still, you're too busy, get all these distractions, he may answer and you may not even hear him. Right? So if you ask him, when you pray, shut up. Right? Be still and listen to see what God is trying to say. I know sometimes he probably just shakes his head, at me. I'll ask him something, and then he'll answer, and I'm talking. Or I'm doing something else. I'm looking at TV, or I'm running, I'm ripping and running. So if you really believe that prayer is talking to God, then we have to believe that prayer is also listening for an answer. Okay? And then the pastor talked about you gotta worship. Right? He said worship is essential. I believe it. And I know that everybody here believes it too. We have got to worship God. He deserves that and way more. Right? So, coming to Greater Bethel, going to any house of prayer, any house of God, when it's worship time, there's no time for foolishness. Right? What happens in the sanctuary has to be all about God. Like if it's anything else, if your mind just drifts for a minute because you want to see what Sister so-and-so has on, or you want to peep in the door to see if the pastor's preaching, if not, you're going to go home. And it happens, the pastor tells us, it happens. We have certain members, if they don't see the beamer, they out, right? And we joke and we laugh about it, but that's a sad commentary, actually, right? Because this whole God thing, if you're serious about worship, if you're serious about what God means to us, if you're serious about knowing that He's the only true and living God, and He's the reason that we live, what does it matter if pastor's here or not? If you believe the whole thing, right? If you believe that any preacher has been called by God, and prayerfully they're not going to get up there and talk to you about themselves, and they are speaking for God, then why would we have the audacity to only want to hear certain people? And guess what? I used to be just that way. She knew me when I was that way. If a certain preacher wasn't preaching, if I didn't leave, I shut down. And guess who was missing out? Me. If I want God to speak to me, I don't have the right to even talk about or think about who He uses. So those kind of things. So when it comes to worship, all I want to do is worship God in spirit and in truth. Doesn't matter what color the carpet is. Doesn't matter who's in the pulpit. Doesn't matter who's up in the choir. We don't even have to have any music. There are churches that don't have any music. Y'all know that, right? Mm-hmm. No musician, right? But the people still come to worship God in spirit and in truth. Pastor also said on last Wednesday that whatever God asks us to do, He equips us to do it. Right? He's not going to ask you to do anything that He doesn't equip you to do it. And He uses a perfect example. I believe He used Brother Footman. He talks about God's not gonna send you out on a task without the tools you need to do the task, right? So he said, Brother Footman, a minister on the drum, right? Called to minister to God through sound, through his playing on the drum. That's like God calling him to do that, and then he has no drumsticks. Right? So that picture stuck in my head. So God will equip us to do what He's asked us to do. And then he talked about God gives us gifts and talents. And we do know that there's a difference, right? Talks about it in the book, kind of outlines, and I'm not going to get into it, but I think the book shows and talks about the differences between gifts and talents. Okay? Yeah, it's on page 41. But there is a difference. Okay? But whatever that gift is, whatever that talent is, it needs to be used to the glory of God. Right? Anybody hear about you? For the longest time, I wish I could sing. You know, I mean, I'm not talking about just carrying a tune. I wanted one of those voices that, you know, made the knees shake. You know, that's what I mean, I wanted to really sing. When I see somebody who God has gifted in voice, it's amazing. I mean, I stand back in awe. You know, and so with that kind of gift, and it's clear it has nothing to do with the person. It's God. It's so easy for a showy gift to kind of get in our head. Because one too many applause, and see, this is where growth takes place. I remember years ago when I was first active in the church, and the choir singing or anybody's doing something, there's a difference in applauding the choir and praising God. You go to some church, you'll be able to see the difference. Are they applauding the people, or are they praising God? And I'm going to say this, and I may get in trouble, but this is where I think we have to be very careful with our children. Because when they're in charge of worship, they do a magnificent job. Yes, we want to encourage them, but there's a fine line between encouraging them and giving them the sense that we are applauding them and not worshiping God. So that's, and part of that comes with teaching and telling them, so they'll be able to recognize them, but they're children. And so if they're worshiping on Sunday, they're singing or whatever, they're doing whatever, yeah, we want to encourage them. But the most focus should be to God, so they won't be confused. But if all they see is, baby, you've done a good job, and they don't see none of this, right. There's confusion. So it has nothing to do with us. It's all about God. The thing Pastor said, sometimes, and I'm so thankful, and I know you are as well, God calls people that we would not call. Right? If it was left up to us, a whole lot of people wouldn't be called. Right? But God calls and chooses who He wants to. And so that goes back to the whole preaching thing, right? You don't have a right to decide who preaches on any given Sunday. Right? You may have your preference. So I even tell Pastor, me and Reverend Morris are ready to jump out of the pulpit when Pastor's preaching, because I enjoy hearing Pastor preach. Never seen nothing like it in my life. But I wouldn't dare, now that I've grown, take the position that if he's not preaching and I should just stay home. And that could be the very Sunday when Reverend Joe Blow is preaching that God has something special just for me. And I've shut down because Pastor Ray was not in the pulpit. So it's about God. So let me share And I wrote all 8 of these down. You may already have them, because he shared it a couple of times. But he asked us, how does God talk to us? Right? Remember that? He said, and we gave the answers. But he said through his word, through prayer, right? Prayer is dialogue. And again, he made the statement that we need to do more listening than we do talking and prayer. God talks to us in worship, right? And Pastor told us we need to pay attention. You can't be distracted by, because there's going to be some distractions in the sanctuary. And he often talks about who you sit beside. That's real.
That's right.
You know, I mean, if you got your favorite seat and Sunday in and Sunday out, you being distracted by what's going on beside you, you got to let go of that favorite seat. You need to find somebody to sit beside. You can see who's worshiping. That's where you need to sit.
Amen.
Right?
That's right.
And I'm going to say this, it's not just in the pews, it's in the pulpit too. Right? You don't want to sit beside nobody that's not worshiping. Okay? All right. God talks to us through his word, the Rhema word, right? A word specifically for you. Right? He talks to us through others. Pastor said loved ones, friends. God can speak to you through somebody else. God talks to us. Somebody suggested that he talks to us through events, things that happen and occur in our lives. That was on the list. He talks to us in dreams. Now I know that's real. Alright? And then the last one that I had written down, that should be at the top of the list, talks to us through the Holy Spirit. Right? Lets us know exactly what God would have us to do. Okay? Alright? Okay, so then I jotted down a couple other things that really caught my attention. After Pastor really dealt with, and we shared with one another, having to do with what happened in Montgomery, Pastor said, because he had been bombarded with, you know, why don't we have a prayer meeting? Why don't we do this and do that? And he said, he's been praying, right? And I know, hopefully, when we say things and then get a response, that it's all still God-centered and we can really understand what's being said and not, you know, he just don't want to have a prayer meeting. No. What he's saying is, we should have been having prayer vigils before that happened. Right? He never stopped praying. And so, too often, we're reactive. Right? We're up in arms, and we're going to run to God when something happens. But the same fervor, the same tenacity, the same sincerity, the same passion that we're all coming together now, that those innocent people lost their lives, should have already been present. That's what he's saying. And so we ought to always be praying. We ought to always be focused on doing exactly what we know God would have us to do. Don't wait till something tragic happens or you lose your job, right? Hitting your knees all day, every day, you lose your job. Should have already been happening, right? Then you won't be a strange voice to God, right? When something goes wrong, he should have already been hearing from you, right? When the blessings were flowing, when everything was going well, he should have been hearing from us, not when tragedy strikes. And so that's that. But then he said, and this really struck home with me. 31 days of prayer. Right? We've done that several times. And I was talking to Lori earlier, and I remember last year being 31 days, but she said initially it was like 40. Right? One time it was 40. Okay?
Different time of the year.
Different time of the year, right. So we've had a lot of, so I was going to add up the number of days for you, but I didn't, right? But we've had many days that we have set aside for us to come to God's house and to pray. And he said, and it hit me, I don't know about you, I know that there were days that I could have come that I didn't, right? And so, just in that, me dealing with me, a lot of times we declare how much we love God, but then a lot of times our actions don't line up with it at all, right? But here it is. If we, not only in the preaching moment, if we believe the pastor was called by God, do we? Yeah. And he's been assigned to Greater Bethel, all right? And if you watch him and you know that he loves the Lord, he's not doing stuff, you know, that has to do with Morris Redding. He's been led by God. If you believe that, then when God calls him to do a thing, and he makes a call to the church to do a thing, and then we decide, I ain't doing that. You're not saying you're not doing that to Pastor Redding. You're telling God, hey, I don't feel like it. That's what that is. So if we're going to believe this thing, you got to believe the whole thing, right? And so that's what it is. He's led by God to do something. He talked to us about this very study. He agonized over this. He was going to do it at another time, prior to this. But in serious communion with God and listening to the Lord, it wasn't the right time. Right? So this is the right time. That's why we're doing it now. So things like that shows us that he's been led by God. And so anytime something like the 31 days of prayer or any instruction he gives us as a body, and we decide, well, I'll do this, but I'm not going to do that. That's sheer outright disobedience. Not just, it's been disobedient to Pastor Redding, but more importantly, it's disobedience to God. So that's, and I'm saying that to you, but this is what I was saying to myself when he was saying this last Wednesday, right? Because I could look at the calendar, and because of my schedule and the classes that I was teaching during that time, there were times that I could have been here. I don't feel like driving over there. For whatever reason, we make up all kinds of excuses. And this is the thing. Aside from the disobedience, which is enough, what about the things that God is trying to set up in our lives? The behind the scenes stuff that he's trying to do. And then I'm going to say, well, I don't feel like driving over to the church. You just missed.
Right.
And then you falling down at the altar. Lord, give me this. I need. Trying to. Right? But we won't fall in line. We want to kind of do things the way we want to do them. We have to. I have to. You have to seek the Lord and ask him to help us to kind of lose some of that. Right? Because those kind of things, the 31 days of prayer, if Pastor calls a fast, whatever we're doing as a body, everybody who can be plugged in needs to be plugged in, right? Because he said Greater Bethel needs the gift that God has placed in you. But when you in and out and you decide, I'm going to do this or I'm not going to do that, you're messing up the whole body, right? Where the body can be in Christ. All right, y'all okay? Some of y'all smiling, some of y'all look at me like y'all want to fight. But I know you're with me. The interesting thing when I look at faces, people who sing in the choir, you know. But if you don't sing in the choir and you very seldom do anything up front in worship, God bless you. Because to see certain faces, you know, and if I had my choice, I keep my eyes closed the whole time worship is going on. But I can't be an effective armor bearer for pastor all the time with my eyes closed. I need to see what he's doing. But I'd rather not look at some faces. I just do that. A little slide. But when we come, I say that to say, when we come to worship God, it should be, man, I mean, you say, now the other side of the coin, you see some faces that get you lifted. Because you see some people, they're praising their God. They're serious about this thing, right? So there are two sides to it. But the reality is, all this that we do, right, is voluntary. You don't have to come here. But we come here because we love God, right? Amen. So that's what the decisions we make and the things that go on, that's what it needs to look like. Right? I can say I love the Lord all day long, quote scripture, sing my favorite song. But when something's going on with Greater Bethel that the pastor has said we're going to do and you don't see me, then what I'm saying is something wrong. Right? So that's my point. I'll get off of that. I jotted down that the reality is, that was the bad side, but the reality is that we do a lot of good things. We do. Hopefully we do. We all do. Right? We do a lot of good things. But somewhere, and I kind of look back over my years, somewhere we've adopted the thought that the older we get, the less people should tell us what to do. Right? I'm wrong, because who said that? Yeah, I mean, it's some kind of, as we get older, you get in your 20s and, you don't say it as much, but you feel it. You walking with, you tell me nothing, right? But when you reach this age, I'm middle age, right? And if I'm not careful, I have a problem with certain people telling me what to do. That's something we can pray about as well, right? If this is now we're not out in, I'm not at the fraternity meeting, I'm not at the, well, I wouldn't be at the sorority meeting, but I'm not at the club or wherever that you gather. This is a whole different ball game here, right? So you don't have the right to have that attitude that you can't tell me what to do. Right? Be a pastor, be a Brother Matt, or whoever in leadership. Again, it's either all or nothing. Either you're going to believe the whole thing, or you're kind of wasting your time. Right? So if God has set this thing up called the church, then there's a pecking order, there's authority, right? Yes. So you have to do what you're told. Now, we got issues with that. You see it. I'm not the only one. And I try to have blinders on some stuff I don't want to see. But you'll see it where it raises ugly head. There's some things that you can't tell me what to do. Well, this is God's church. Amen. This thing. I don't think the GB out there stands for. I was trying to come up with somebody's name who had the initial GB, but this is God's church. Okay. But the reality is, not doing what you're told is disobedience. There's no other way to say it. That's disobedience. And God does not look kindly on disobedience. Right? But because of His mercy, because of His grace, we have taken advantage of certain things. Because He doesn't drop us on the spot. Right? We act sometimes in ways that we should not. Right? Okay, I'm not going to go any further down that road. But I do want to share this journey from membership to discipleship. Have you all been enjoying this? I thank God just for the opportunity to come. I was a little bit out of shape last semester because I had a class at this time. And so the moment that semester was over and I didn't have a class at this time, I couldn't wait to get here. And they got my schedule, my upcoming schedule for the fall. And guess what? I got a class at this time. I say that to say, these are precious moments. Yeah. right? But God is trying to do something in us individually and collectively, stuff that we really can't even understand, can't see the whole picture. But God is doing some things, right? And it's not so much about us, but He'll bless us in the doing. But the way we feel about our jobs, and the directly we can see that if I go and put those 40 hours in, if I go and put those 80 hours in, if I do what they say, then I know, because I can look at my track record, they're gonna pay me, right? And we value money like there's nothing better. You need it to live, right? Somehow, we got to have that same kind of urgency about this, right? And so when this kind of stuff is offered, I thank God for the numbers that come for Bible study, because we know what it was when Pastor first got here, right? It's growing, but look at how many members we have, right? If you don't know, it's more than this, right? It's more than who comes out at 12 o'clock noon. And so, not to judge anybody else, not to criticize anybody else, but there should be prayer about that, right? First of all, that God would deal with me, that I would squander any opportunity to study His Word, to be in His will, and to not hinder in any way what He's trying to do with His body collectively. That should be the prayer. And then pray for those who have no interest in coming whatsoever, for whatever reason, right? Because they're still part of the body, whether they're on the AME roll or, they've been going to Greater Bethel forever. They're still part of the body. Because the magnificent things that we have seen God do just in recent years with this church, right? It's a drop in the bucket to what He wants to do. And guess what? He's not limited. The reason some of the stuff has not happened is because of us, right? So, whenever you can come, right? Y'all hot? Yeah, I'm sweating a little bit, but anyway. Okay. So this session is talking about understanding the call of God. The pastor at the end of last week's lesson, he said that we were going to talk about, I think we read everything that was on page 38, but we did not go into page 39. But he said that he was going to talk about, well, he said this week we were going to deal with the different calls, right? And the responses to those calls. And I am so looking forward to him doing so next week. And I said that, I'm going to tell you why I said that. Talking about God's call, and talking about hearing and recognizing, because the objective, somebody read the objective at the top of the page.
To identify the call of God.
Yeah, so the objective is that we would be able to identify that call, right? And so, when I got the call, or whenever I get the call to preach, whenever I get the call to teach, this is what I do. I go upstairs in our prayer room. It's not a metaphorical prayer closet. It's an actual room that has all of our Bibles, every piece of Christian literature that Lord and I have collected over the last how many years. Sermons and CDs, everything having to do with God. I go in there, I close the door, and I fall on my face. And this is what I say to the Lord. I say, God, please speak to me and tell me what to say. And I just stay there. And I'm saying that because when I got the call about this, that's what I did. And so I was listening for God. I remember what Pastor said. Truly, I knew that he said we're going to deal with the different calls, right? But that's before I knew that I was going to get the call. And so even for this situation, and even when I'm going to preach, it depends on how much advance notice I get. But often, sometimes God will say something right away, a little piece, right? But then the rest comes in days, right? So that says that you always have to, once you've been called, you got to be listening. You don't know when he's going to give you that next piece. And like Pastor talked about his age, and I'm the same way. I used to be able to just remember what he said. But I always had pad and pencil beside the bed, pad and pencil beside my little chair downstairs that I fall asleep in, right? Because when he said something, I want to write it down, okay? So, anyway, so about this. So I said, well, I don't really know where Pastor was going to go. I looked at the book. I've studied the session. I don't know what he was planning to do, talking about the different calls. I could go a totally different way. So I listened. And these are three things I heard. I heard a song that just wouldn't let me go, right? So I heard a song, I heard scripture, and then I heard the word relationship. And so for the time that's left, that's what we're going to talk about. Because when I heard it, it didn't connect with me. I'm like, so what does that mean, God? Right? but as I prayed and I trusted him, right? Now I see it. I see how it connects. But when he said it, I was like, wow, really? Maybe I need to go ahead and do that, what Pastor was going to do. And here's the song. Don't y'all leave me out here by myself. I am thine, O Lord, I have heard thy voice, and it told thy love to me. I long to rise in the arms of, and be closer drawn, to thee. Next verse, consecrate me. Consecrate me now to thy service. I gotta learn some hymns by grace. Let my soul look up with a steadfast and my will be lost in. This is the one I like. Third verse. Oh, the pure delight of a single hour that before thy throne I spend. When I kneel in prayer, and with thee, my God, I commune as friend with friend. Now draw me near. Draw me nearer, blessed Lord, to the promise where thou hast died. Draw me nearer, blessed Lord, to thy precious bleeding side. That's the song he gave me. When he gave me, I was like, wow, what is it? So they got to do it. Right? You hear the relationship in that song? Yeah. Yes, sir.
Everything you talked about, I wasn't supposed to be here, but I was supposed to be here tonight. That was the very song I woke up singing yesterday morning. The Lord telling me to sing that song.
See?
This is just not happenstance like we think it is.
Right.
But God has a drawing on us whether we even realize it. We like pawns or chess pieces,
right.
And we're being moved and don't even know we're being moved.
Right. Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, God is connected. He has stuff connected. Sometimes we don't see it. Sometimes He allows us to see. But there's so much we still don't see. But yeah, it's all about it. So that song, right? Okay, so He gave me that. And then the scripture He gave me was the 23rd Psalm. Okay? And we know that. Right? know it. I've heard it preached. I've tried to preach it myself. But with God's word, if you go into it with a worshipful mind and you're not just reading like you're reading Gone with the Wind, right? He'll reveal stuff to you. You know, most of us knew the 23rd Psalm when we were children, right? But just today, you know, yesterday when I heard it, you know, so I read it, all right? And a lot of times when God gives me the scripture, I'll read it from several different versions, right? And so let me go ahead and drop this on you if you're one of these people. Hopefully nobody here still thinks that King James is the only authentic word of God, right? The version that allows you to understand what he's saying, that's what's authentic. Okay? You don't get caught up on whether it's King James or not, right? So I read several different versions because I receive certain things out of certain versions. That's why you see some preachers when they preach. Do they always preach out of King James? No, it's whatever version that speaks to them with that message, right? When I first came into the ministry, most of my when I look back at some of my older sermons, most of them I used the New Living Translation. Because at that time in our church, we were doing the one-year Bible, the New Living Translation. I was born in Christ. God was revealing things to me in the New Living Translation. So guess what I preached out of? The New Living Translation. Because it was plain and I understood it. Now some things, like the Psalm, sometimes you want King James. It just depends. So I'm saying that to say, so this 23rd Psalm. So the song that we just sang is talking about our relationship with Christ, our relationship with the Father, right? Our relationship with the Holy Spirit. That's what this whole thing is about. This journey from membership to discipleship, it's about relationship, right? What other reason would you come here on a Wednesday night when you could be watching your favorite TV show, right? Why would you voluntarily just come here? Because of your relationship with Christ, right? And so I found something that really dissects the 23rd Psalm. We probably won't get to it, but instead of trying to stop and go to it, I'm going to give you several titles that the 23rd Psalm is sectioned off in, and then we're going to share certain scriptures that we have time to share. But it blessed me. I skipped over something when before I go into the 23rd Psalm. When I shared what process I go through when I know that I'm going to stand and deliver God's word and I had written it down. But then when I went back to study the book, and this goes to what my brother over there was saying, it's the very scripture that's in the lesson. Look at page 38. We talked about it on Wednesday. Habakkuk 2. This is not planned. Habakkuk 2, and I'm going to read the first two verses, but it's actually Habakkuk, it says Habakkuk 2 and 2. But I'm going to read from, well, who has King James? Brother Andrew, read King James, read Habakkuk 2, 1 and 2.
I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower, and will watch to see what he will say unto me, and what I shall answer when I am reproved. And the Lord answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth.
Okay. Who has another version? Okay, I'll read it from the New Living. The New Living says, I will climb up in my watchtower now and wait to see what the Lord will say to me. and how he will answer my complaint. Then the Lord said to me, write my answer in large clear letters on a tablet, so that a runner can read it and tell everyone else. When Habakkuk said he will climb up in the watchtower, right, and listen for what the Lord has to say to him. That's what I was doing. You know what this scripture is saying? This scripture is saying, if you want to get in touch with God, if you want to hear God's call, if you want to hear God speak to you, there's some stuff you got to do. First of all, you got to get away from the distractions. Wherever that place is for you, it's my prayer room at home, right? If I'm out on the road, then I'll shut myself in the car, right? You have to get away, quiet yourself, right? Be still for a moment, or moments, or however long it takes. But it can't just be about, God speak to me, and then you go on skipping down the street, right? It has to be, we have to understand what we're talking about. You're actually saying, God, I want you to speak directly to me, right? And so if we're asking him to speak to us, we're looking for some direction, and that should be almost everything that we do in our lives. We do a lot of stuff, and then once we messed it up, and Pastor told us this over and over. We mess it up, then we go run into the Lord. Oh, Lord, fix this for me, right? And for the parents in the house, you know, that's what your children used to do. Mess it up, and then they come crying when they should have come to you before they made the decision. So no decision is too small for you to take to the Lord, right? There's some decisions that all of us have made that we know we wish we could take it back. Right? But if you want God to speak to us, if you really want to hear his call, you really want to hear him speak to us, then you have to steal away. You got to find somewhere where you won't be distracted. Right? Assume whatever posture is important to you to hear from God. Whatever your stillest posture is, that's what you need to take. And when I say still, I mean the posture that helps you forget about you. That's why I lie on my face. Number one, it's not a normal position, right? When I sleep at night, I don't even like to sleep on, just face down. But to me, it's the best way that I can feel that I'm totally surrendered, right? So you got to find that posture that keeps your mind off you. And then just be still and listen. Right? And here's the thing. There's something about those moments that you probably can't even explain to anybody. Really, truly, like it should be explained. The person would have to be in you and feel what you feel. But there's something about being alone with God. Right? Just being quiet and just waiting for him to speak. And the blessing is that if you wait 5 or 10 or 15 minutes and you don't hear anything, all is not lost. Because there's something in that waiting that says, he didn't say anything now, but he'll give you that assurance in your soul. You know he's going to say something. Right? It's something about, so that's what Habakkuk is talking about. You can't just say, speak to me, God, and do nothing that shows that you really want to hear from him. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay. So this session, I'm sure Pastor will deal more with that, but about understanding the call and to recognize his voice. Right? For a long time, a lot of times we talk about stuff in church and we really don't dig into it, and it's totally confusing. But you don't want to tell nobody you don't understand it because you think everybody else understands it. That ain't so. I tell all my students at the college, ask the question, because everybody else in here wants to too. They just don't want to seem dumb. You know, I ain't gonna make you know good and well you don't understand the Pythagorean theorem. But you ain't gonna you don't wait time for the final and say, Mr. Montgomery, what is A squared plus B squared plus C squared? That was at the beginning of the course. Ask the question. So we talk about stuff like understanding his voice. What does that mean? You know, how do you understand? Have you ever heard him talk? How do you recognize his voice? Those kinds of things. That's why these kind of settings are so precious. Because we get to talk about that kind of stuff. Can't say it on Sunday morning. Pastor, excuse me. I know you're going to bring it home, but right? That's what this is. These are precious moments, right? So recognizing his voice has a lot. That's relationship as well. This one here, last week, I think I was sitting looking at TV, and I didn't even see her. I didn't hear her come in the room. I'm sitting in the chair. She's behind me, and I just feel something on my head. I'm gonna tell her. She's smelling me. My scalp. She smelled in my hair. And she said it before, but I didn't give it any thought. She likes the way my hair smells. Right? Somebody said, wait a minute. But the point I'm getting ready to make, and the Lord just dropped that in my spirit. And then she went on to tell me that, and it makes sense to me, because in marriage, that's let me fix it, right? She says that she knows my sin, is what she said, Sister Vaughn. But when she said it, I realized I know hers as well. Okay? And so she went on to make the point that she could come into a room, if she was blind, she could come into a room full of men, and she would be able to snitch me out. My point being, the reason she can do that is because we have spent so much intimate time together. She knows me. Sister Vaughn is not letting me keep this up. So, and God just gave me that just a minute. But the point I'm trying to make is, that's how you come to know his voice. You got to spend some intimate time with him, right? You can't stay out on the fringes, right? And you pop in every now and then, and the Bible you have at home still has crisp pages. Can you pull it apart, right? We all know how much time we spend with the Lord, right? We all know how much time we spend in the Word. You know, not like it's a chore, but it's a love. You're trying to get all God has. You want to know him, right? He knows us. And so that whole recognizing his voice, that's what helps it. Right? You don't have a relationship, you're not spending no time, how you gonna recognize his voice? Anybody could be talking to you. Who the pastor said talks as well. Yeah. Tell you run down the middle triangle, and you say that's the Lord. Right? So, anyway, so let me give you this. The 23rd Psalm is sectioned off in 12 with 12 headings. You may have seen some of this before. You ready? First is security. And you know what? I'll just read it as I go. I won't be able to share the scripture. But the security piece is what? The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want, right? The next piece is happiness. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. The next piece is peace, right? He leadeth me beside the still waters. The next is strength. He restored my soul. Next is guidance. Am I going too fast? Guidance. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness. For my name's sake? For his name's sake. Right. The next is assurance. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. The next is the Lord's presence. For thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Following that is the victorious life. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Following that is gladness. Thou anointest my head with oil. Then comes the joyful life. My cup runneth over. Stand with me? Following that is the good life. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. And last but certainly not least is eternal life. And I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Just have time to just kind of talk about that first piece, because it's almost 8 o'clock. If you read other translations, and I don't know if the New Living is one of them, but it doesn't say, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. It says, the Lord is my shepherd, I have everything that I need. And so that security piece is saying, no matter what's going on, it's not saying that you're not going to want, right? Because the King James doesn't give you that impression. But it says, no matter what I want, the God I serve is going to give me everything that I need. And your relationship with him said, and then some. Right? If you look back over your life, you know you got much more than just what you need. Right? And so here's a couple of scriptures just to support the security piece. And I can copy the rest of this and share it with you. Isaiah 40:11. Psalm 27:1. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Yeah, whom shall I fear? Yeah. Psalm 121:8 talks about the Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in. John 10:11 talks about the Lord being the good shepherd. And Philippians 4:19, but my God shall supply all your needs according to his riches. Philippians 4:19. Okay. And so, again, when I stilled myself and asked the Lord what he wanted me to talk about, I'm thinking the 23rd Psalm, I am thine, O Lord. You know, how does any of that fit? Can't you see all that's about our relationship, right? The 23rd Psalm, to me, I think it's probably the first scripture that I learned, that I can memorize and just say. It speaks volumes about this walk that we're taking, this journey. And the Lord had laid on my heart this title. When the pastor first said that we were going to be studying it, just thinking about this from membership to discipleship. All I kept hearing is journey, our journey. This once you sign on, right? Once you accept Christ, this is the journey, right? Yeah. This is going to be a long haul. It's not. It's not quick. Yeah, Brother Andrew does a lot of running. You know, he doesn't just run a block. Long run. This is a long journey, and I'll say this and I'll close. The 23rd Psalm says to me
that from the cradle to the grave and beyond, God is there. Right? The Lord is with us. Everything we need, right? Some of the things we desire, some of the stuff we don't need. Right? God has been that good that He blesses us, right? Even when we do things kind of half-hearted, right? He's still good to us. And so, if the 23rd Psalm says that the Lord is our shepherd, and the other piece of this, and I knew it wasn't going to be enough time, I really wanted to talk about what a shepherd really does and why David chose that analogy, right? Why he sees God as shepherd. But with the Lord, we have everything we need. And so it's a good time to be alive, right? Even in the midst of the tragedy in Charleston, and that's not the only. I mean, things like that are just happening all over the world. Used to be when we were younger. I kind of look back and go over some old news footage and some other things. Things didn't just get bad, but it seems like it's happening much more frequently, right? So none of this stuff is new, but it's like every other day you hear that kind of thing going on, which says that we talk about no one knows the day nor the hour when the Lord's coming back, right? And Pastor always reminds us. What does that mean? You got to be ready whenever He comes. Right? So we have to take full advantage of this journey. We don't want to just be members, right? I can remember when I was just a member. Do you all remember when you just members? You wasn't trying to be involved in nothing. Preachers say what you gonna say. I gotta go. Right? Isn't it a blessing to be away from that place? So I thank God for you all. I thank God for all that He's doing in all of us. Stay on the journey. Stay hungry for God. Right? And whatever He says, do it. Right? You don't have to like it, just do it. And watch what He does in the midst. You don't want to hold the rest of us back, please. Do what God says to do. Come on, just stand and give God some praise.